wake of Prince's death, Sinead O'Connor is making damning allegations about the music icon's history with. In a Facebook post, O'Connor says 2 words for the DEA investigating where Prince got his over the decades: Arsenio Hall.
Prince is younger than me. Of course, everybody's younger than me. He was 56, and I think what pained me most is the visual image of where he passed, alone in that elevator. That bugged me.
A $5 million lawsuit, international headlines, and a friendship spanning decades destroyed by a single Facebook post.
And he would do incredible things. One time we got in trouble because Prince was mad about some reviews, and he took the LA Times and he put it in a baby grand piano, put lighter fluid in there and set it on fire.
This was the systematic destruction of a man who thought he understood the rules of engagement with one of music's most dangerous personalities.
The person to contact me when I came back to late night was this man to congratulate me and to say he will be here, save me a night. Thank you, Duke. You've always been a good friend. Always.
But in Hollywood, loyalty is a luxury few can afford. And when Prince died alone in that elevator at Paisley Park, everything Arsenio Hall thought he knew about friendship was about to be weaponized against him. This is the story of how Arsenio Hall discovered that even death couldn't end Prince's capacity for controversy. So let's get into it. September 9th, 1991. Studio 29 at Paramount Pictures. Most guests spent 5 minutes promoting their latest project and left. Prince had just demanded the entire show.
Prince used to call you and just say, "Hey, can I do an hour on your show?" And you'd always just be like, "Yeah."
And you know what? There is no other answer.
No other celebrity got this treatment. Not Eddie Murphy, not Madonna, not even presidential candidates. But Prince wasn't asking, he was commanding. And somehow Arsenio Hall kept saying yes. The performance that night was unlike anything television had seen. Prince opened with Diamonds and Pearls, slid into Let's Go Crazy, then commanded every inch of the stage during Kiss. For 30 straight minutes, America's most reclusive superstar owned primetime television. But this wasn't just entertainment. This was a power play. Prince was studying how television worked, learning the rhythms of live audience response, mapping the geography of media influence. He was treating Arsenio's show like his personal laboratory, and Hall was giving him unlimited access to experiment. The audience didn't know they were witnessing the beginning of a relationship that would span decades and ultimately explode into one of entertainment's most toxic feuds. They thought they were just watching great television. Prince had rules, strict, non-negotiable rules that he imposed on everyone around him. No interviews unless he felt like it. No questions about his personal life. Complete creative control over every aspect of his appearance. Most hosts would have balked at these demands. Hall embraced them. This was Prince's method. Controlled chaos that looked spontaneous, but was actually orchestrated down to the last detail. He'd revolutionized the music industry by refusing to compromise artistic vision for commercial success. Now he was applying those same tactics to television. Hall understood the game because he was playing his own version of it. As one of the few black late-night hosts on television, he knew about fighting for respect in rooms where you weren't wanted. His show had become appointment television for young, urban audiences that Carson and Letterman ignored. But Prince was different. He didn't just want a platform, he wanted control. And Hall, perhaps sensing the mutual benefit of their alliance, gave it to him. The 1991 appearance established a template that would define their relationship for the next 2 decades. Prince would make demands that seemed unreasonable. Hall would accommodate them. The result would be television magic that nobody else could replicate. Behind the scenes, Prince's team had issued specific instructions about lighting, camera angles, and audience interaction. The star's notorious perfectionism extended to every detail of the production. Sound technicians were told exactly how to mix his vocals. camera operators received precise directions about which angles to avoid. Hall's production staff initially bristled at Prince's micromanagement, but the results spoke for themselves. The ratings were massive. The cultural impact was undeniable. Other late-night hosts tried to book Prince for years afterward, but he remained loyal to Hall's show. The dynamic they'd created was intoxicating for both men. Prince got total creative control without the usual network interference. Hall got television gold that elevated his show above the competition. It seemed like a perfect partnership built on mutual respect and shared ambition.
He always created excitement when he came.
What neither man understood was that they were creating something dangerous, a dynamic where one person held all the power while the other absorbed all the risk. When that relationship eventually imploded, only one of them would survive the fallout. The September 1991 performance was just the beginning. Prince had tasted the power of controlling television, and he wanted more. Hall had experienced the ratings boost that came with giving Prince complete freedom, and he was addicted to the numbers. Neither man realized they were building a friendship on a foundation that couldn't support the weight of what was coming. The entertainment industry doesn't tolerate successful partnerships for long, especially when they operate outside traditional power structures. Forces were already moving to drive a wedge between them. February 23, 1993. Prince returned to Studio 29, but something had changed. The confident artist who dominated television 2 years earlier was now carrying grudges, settling scores, using Hall's show as his personal therapy session. The review that pushed Prince over the edge was written by John Bream of the Star Tribune, who'd criticized Love Symbol as self-indulgent and out of touch. Most artists would have ignored it or responded through their music. Prince turned it into arson.
He would do incredible things. One time we got in trouble because Prince was mad about some reviews, and he took the LA Times and he put it in a baby grand piano, put lighter fluid in there and set it on fire.
This wasn't performance art. This was a meltdown broadcast to millions of viewers. Prince had been carrying around a negative review of his Love Symbol album for months, letting it eat at him. And now he was literally setting his anger on fire during primetime television. But Hall wasn't disturbed by Prince's escalating behavior. He was enabling it. While fire marshals rushed onto his stage and Paramount executives panicked about safety violations, Hall treated the chaos like just another night of great television. The 1993 appearance revealed the toxic dynamic that had developed between them. Prince wasn't just using Hall's show for promotion anymore. He was using it for revenge against critics, record labels, and anyone else who'd crossed him. Hall, perhaps desperate to maintain his relationship with music's most valuable guest, was letting it happen. Prince opened that night with My Name is Prince, complete with his gun-shaped microphone and chain hat. He performed 4 songs from Love Symbol, turning each performance into a statement about artistic independence and industry resistance. But the real message was delivered when he set that newspaper review on fire. Prince was declaring war on anyone who dared criticize his work. The performance was technically flawless, but something darker was happening beneath the surface. Prince's need for absolute control was metastasizing into something more sinister. His relationship with Warner Brothers was deteriorating. His sales were declining. The music industry that had once celebrated his genius was now questioning his commercial viability and mental stability. Hall could see the strain, but he chose loyalty over journalism. Instead of pressing Prince about his increasingly erratic behavior, he gave him the platform to act out without consequences. Instead of asking tough questions about the fire incident, he laughed it off as rockstar excess. Behind the scenes, Paramount executives were furious about the fire incident. Insurance companies demanded explanations. The fire marshal filed a formal complaint. Legal teams scrambled to assess liability. But when the ratings came in, all concerns evaporated. The show had delivered its highest numbers of the season. This pattern would define their relationship for years. Prince pushing boundaries, Hall enabling the behavior, executives complaining privately but celebrating the results. Each incident raised the stakes a little higher, normalized a little more chaos, made the next transgression seem reasonable by comparison. Prince's behavior during this period reflected deeper struggles with industry control and artistic freedom. His battles with Warner Brothers were intensifying. His attempts to change his name to an unpronounceable symbol were being ridiculed in the press. Critics were questioning whether his best work was behind him. Hall's show had become Prince's safe space to lash out at these pressures. The fire incident wasn't just about one bad review. It was about years of accumulated frustration with an industry that wanted to control him, critics who didn't understand his vision, and fans who seemed more interested in his past than his present. The television audience ate it up. They didn't see a troubled artist spiraling toward dangerous behavior. They saw Prince being Prince, unpredictable and brilliant as always. The fire incident became part of his mythology, another example of his legendary perfectionism and artistic intensity. Hall's decision to enable rather than confront Prince's escalating behavior would later haunt him when critics accused him of being too soft on controversial guests, too willing to let celebrities use his show as therapy instead of holding them accountable. But Hall didn't understand the trap he was walking into. By enabling Prince's worst impulses, he was making himself complicit in everything that would follow. The fire marshal's interruption should have been a warning. Instead, it became just another story Hall would tell at dinner parties, another example of Prince's unpredictable genius. But genius and madness often occupy the same space, and Hall was about to learn the difference between the two. May 27, 1994. The Arsenio Hall show aired its final episode after a controversial interview with Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan had triggered industry backlash. Hall disappeared from television, focusing on raising his son while rumors swirled about what had really ended his career. Prince, meanwhile, continued his war against the music industry. He changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol, wrote SLAVE on his cheek during public appearances, and fought a brutal legal battle to escape his Warner Brothers contract. By 2014, he'd emerged victorious, but scarred from 20 years of industry warfare. When Hall announced his return to late-night television in 2013, the entertainment industry had changed completely. Social media had democratized celebrity access. Streaming services were disrupting traditional media models. The controlled appointment television that had made both men famous was becoming extinct.
The first person to contact me when I came back to late night was this man to congratulate me and to say he would be here, save me a night. Thank you, Duke. You've always been a good friend. Always.
Prince's decision to support Hall's comeback seemed generous. A major star helping an old friend reclaim his place in entertainment. But Prince never did anything without calculating multiple benefits, and his appearance on the revived show was no exception. March 4th, 2014. The new Arsenio Hall show was struggling in ratings, facing cancellation rumors just months after its premiere. Prince's entire episode wasn't just friendship. It was a strategic move by a master manipulator who understood the power of controlled media appearances. But this Prince was different from the mysterious figure who dominated Hall's stage in the 1990s. 23 years had passed, and both men had survived industry battles that would have ended lesser careers. The result was an unexpectedly intimate conversation that revealed more about Prince than decades of previous interviews. Prince admitted he didn't own a cell phone, joked about wanting Princestagram, and revealed his late-night cooking habits. For viewers accustomed to his mystique, this glimpse behind the curtain was revolutionary. But it was also calculated. Prince was showing just enough humanity to maintain interest while revealing nothing truly personal. The most telling moment came when Hall asked what Prince would do for a living if he weren't Prince.
When I was 16, I was completely broke and needed to go get a job, so I got the Yellow Pages out and I couldn't find one thing that I wanted to do. So I decided I was going to push as hard as I could to be a musician and win at it.
This wasn't just career advice, it was Prince's survival philosophy. In an industry designed to exploit artists, the only winning move was absolute dedication, combined with strategic thinking. Prince hadn't just succeeded, he'd conquered a system that tried to own him. But the 2014 appearance also revealed Prince's growing paranoia about technology and industry exploitation. His criticism of illegal downloading and unfair streaming compensation wasn't just about money, it was about control, respect, and the systematic devaluation of artistic work.
A lot of artists aren't getting paid full scale for their art, and the internet, because of downloading and things like that, is kind of like a black hole, and it's hard to audit, it's hard to get accounting.
The conversation revealed how both men had evolved during their time apart. Hall had learned the cost of controversy after the Farrakhan interview destroyed his first show. He approached sensitive topics more carefully now, prioritizing his platform's survival over provocative moments. Prince had learned different lessons from his industry battles. His victory over Warner Brothers had come at enormous personal and financial cost. He'd spent millions in legal fees, sacrificed commercial opportunities, and damaged relationships throughout the music business. But he'd won something precious: complete ownership of his artistic legacy. The 2014 interview showcased their mutual respect and genuine affection, but it also highlighted how much had changed. Both men were older, more cautious, more aware of how quickly success could evaporate in the entertainment industry. Their youthful confidence had been tempered by decades of professional warfare. Behind the cameras, Prince's team had negotiated extensive control over the interview content. Questions were submitted in advance. Certain topics were declared off-limits. The spontaneous energy of their 1990s collaborations had been replaced by careful choreography designed to protect both men's carefully cultivated images. The episode drew respectable ratings, but couldn't save Hall's struggling show. 3 months later, CBS announced the cancellation of the revived Arsenio Hall show. Hall's second chance at late-night television was over before it really began. Prince's support had been meaningful, but it wasn't enough to overcome the changing media landscape. Traditional late-night television was losing ground to social media, streaming content, and fragmented audiences. The format that had made both men famous was becoming obsolete. What neither man knew was that this would be their final collaboration. Prince had just 2 years left to live. Their long friendship was about to be tested by accusations that would destroy reputations and reveal the toxic underbelly of celebrity culture. The calm, intimate conversation of March 2014 was the last peaceful moment before the storm that would engulf them both. Their friendship had survived industry battles, career setbacks, and 2 decades of separation. But it couldn't survive what was coming next. April 21st, 2016. Prince was found dead in an elevator at Paisley Park. The preliminary autopsy revealed fatal levels of fentanyl in his system. Federal investigators launched a probe into how prescription opioids had been obtained. Every relationship, every friendship, every connection became subject to scrutiny. Hall, who'd shared decades of friendship with Prince, initially maintained respectful silence. When he finally spoke, it was about grief, not speculation.
Prince is younger than me. Of course, everybody's younger than me. He was 56, and I think what pained me most is the visual image of where he passed, alone in that elevator. That bugged me.
Hall's statement was measured, focusing on loss rather than scandal. But 10 days later, everything changed when Sinead O'Connor posted a Facebook message that would detonate through the entertainment industry.
In the wake of Prince's death, Sinead O'Connor is making damning allegations about the music icon's history with drugs. In a Facebook post, O'Connor says 2 words for the DEA investigating where Prince got his drugs over the decades, Arsenio Hall.
O'Connor's post wasn't just accusation, it was character assassination. She claimed she'd reported Hall to law enforcement and alleged he'd once spiked her drink at Eddie Murphy's house. The accusations were explosive, specific, and completely unsubstantiated. But in the social media age, unverified claims could destroy reputations within hours of publication. O'Connor's attack spread across every entertainment news platform. Hall, who'd spent decades building a reputation as one of Hollywood's most respected figures, suddenly found himself linked to drug dealing and Prince's death in headlines worldwide. O'Connor's timing wasn't coincidental. She'd had a complicated relationship with Prince, recording his song Nothing Compares to You to massive success in 1990, but later claiming they'd clashed personally. Her attack came just days after his funeral, when the entertainment industry was still processing the loss. The accusation exploited racial stereotypes about black men in entertainment. Hall wasn't just being accused of dealing. He was being painted as a figure who'd corrupted an innocent artist. The allegations played into every racist trope about black entertainers as dangerous influences. O'Connor's Facebook post contained specific details designed to sound credible. She mentioned the Carver County Sheriff's Office, referenced the DEA investigation into Prince's death, and claimed personal knowledge of use spanning decades. But none of these details could be verified, and law enforcement agencies never confirmed any contact with her. The attack revealed O'Connor's own troubled mental state and history of erratic behavior. She'd spent years cycling through public controversies, from tearing up the Pope's photo on Saturday Night Live to various political statements and personal meltdowns. Her accusation against Hall fit the pattern of someone seeking attention through increasingly outrageous claims. What made O'Connor's attack particularly insidious was how it weaponized Prince's death for personal agenda. While his family grieved and investigators worked to understand what had happened, she'd chosen to settle old scores by destroying someone else's reputation. The entertainment industry's response was telling. Most celebrities remained silent, unwilling to defend Hall or criticize O'Connor. Industry executives privately dismissed her claims but refused to speak publicly. The same people who'd celebrated Hall's contributions to television abandoned him when he needed support most. Social media amplified the damage exponentially. O'Connor's original post was shared thousands of times within hours. Commentary and speculation multiplied the reach of her accusations. Hashtags linking Hall's name to Prince's death began trending on Twitter. The viral nature of the attack made traditional damage control impossible. Hall faced an impossible choice: fight back and extend the media circus around Prince's death, or stay silent and let the accusations stand. Either option would cause more pain for Prince's family and friends who were still processing their loss.
You know, I was aware of hip pain that he had. And I remember, you know, it's interesting because Prince would have the cane, but I feel like the cane preceded the pain.
The response was swift and devastating. Within days, O'Connor's accusations had linked Hall's name to one of entertainment's biggest tragedies. The man who'd provided Prince with some of his most successful television appearances was now being falsely accused of contributing to his death. Federal investigators continued their probe into Prince's death without ever contacting Hall or finding any evidence supporting O'Connor's claims. The Drug Enforcement Administration investigation that O'Connor claimed to have triggered showed no interest in Hall whatsoever, undermining her credibility further. But damage in the social media age doesn't require truth, only virality. O'Connor's lies had achieved their purpose, destroying Hall's reputation and inserting her into the biggest entertainment story of the year. The reckoning was inevitable, but the cost would be enormous for everyone involved. May 5th, 2016. Just 2 weeks after Sinead O'Connor's explosive Facebook accusations, Arsenio Hall's legal team filed a $5 million defamation lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court. The language was as brutal as the accusations it was answering. The lawsuit described O'Connor as a desperate attention seeker who'd maliciously published outlandish defamatory lies about Hall. It characterized her as someone now known perhaps as much for her bizarre, unhinged internet rants as for her music. The legal filing forced O'Connor to confront the reckless nature of her social media attack. Her initial response revealed the weakness of her position. She admitted she'd only met Prince a couple of times and hadn't had contact with Hall in 25 years. The foundation of her claims was essentially non-existent. But O'Connor doubled down initially, posting additional inflammatory messages about Hall and mocking his legal response. Her behavior suggested someone more interested in maintaining media attention than in truth or justice for Prince. The legal battle stretched for months, creating exactly the prolonged media circus that Hall had hoped to avoid. Every court filing generated new headlines linking his name to Prince's death and allegations. The lawsuit meant to clear his name instead kept the story alive in news cycles for nearly a year. Hall's legal strategy was methodical and devastating. His attorneys documented O'Connor's history of erratic behavior, her lack of credible evidence, and the damage her false accusations had caused to his reputation. They demonstrated that her claims had no basis in fact, and were motivated by attention-seeking rather than genuine knowledge. The case revealed troubling dynamics in celebrity culture and social media. O'Connor's accusations had spread globally within hours, but corrections and retractions would receive minimal coverage. The initial lies had entertainment value. The truth was just boring legal news. O'Connor's legal team struggled to mount any credible defense. They couldn't produce evidence supporting her claims about dealing or drink spiking. They couldn't explain her 25-year gap in contact with Hall. They couldn't justify her timing in attacking him just days after Prince's funeral. Meanwhile, federal investigators continued their probe into Prince's death without ever contacting Hall or finding any evidence supporting O'Connor's claims. The Enforcement Administration investigation that O'Connor claimed to have triggered showed no interest in Hall whatsoever, undermining her credibility further. The financial pressure of mounting a defense against a well-funded lawsuit began taking its toll on O'Connor. Her erratic public behavior continued, including additional controversial social media posts that further damaged her credibility. Her legal team reportedly advised her to consider settlement options. The turning point came in February 2017, nearly 10 months after O'Connor's initial post, when she finally acknowledged the damage her accusations had caused. Her apology was complete and unequivocal, admitting that her statements were false and retracting them entirely. O'Connor's complete retraction vindicated Hall, but it couldn't undo the damage. For months, his name had been associated with one of entertainment's biggest tragedies. The man who'd given Prince some of his most successful television platforms had been falsely accused of contributing to his death. Hall's victory in court was total. O'Connor's admission that her statements were false eliminated any defense she might have mounted. But lawsuits can't repair reputations damaged by viral accusations. Some people would forever associate Hall's name with Prince's death, regardless of legal outcomes. The resolution brought an end to a painful chapter that highlighted how vulnerable public figures remain to false accusations in the social media age. O'Connor's attack had exploited the internet's capacity to spread unverified claims faster than fact-checkers could respond. Hall's successful lawsuit established an important precedent. Even celebrities couldn't make false accusations without facing consequences. The $5 million judgment sent a message to others who might consider weaponizing social media for personal vendettas against public figures. The friendship that had spanned decades, survived industry battles, and created some of television's most memorable moments had been posthumously destroyed by someone with no real knowledge of either man's character. In the end, Both Prince and Hall were victims of a celebrity culture that prioritizes sensation over truth. Hall had won his lawsuit, but the cost of victory was enormous. Prince was gone, their friendship had been weaponized against him, and the entertainment industry had once again proven that loyalty was a luxury few could afford. The day Arsenio Hall learned not to mess with Prince had ended not with their friendship intact, but with lawyers, lawsuits, and the bitter realization that even death couldn't protect you from Hollywood's capacity for destruction. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.